Hello and welcome to another Magic the Gathering video. So we're going to be doing something a bit different, which I think I've done one or two times before. I'm going to be doing the deck analysis for this intro deck using digital images, like virtual cards. It's a direction that I want to go in with just mainly the intro decks. Things like event decks, as I mentioned in a previous video, I'm now planning to open each event deck in a set and do a physical card-based analysis of that and unboxing, and anything else like boosters, fat packs, they'll still be unboxed obviously. But with the intro decks it had got a bit silly the last block where I'd literally opened them every single one, and it wasn't really a direction I wanted to go in long term. So I thought the easiest thing to do was maybe with the intro decks turn it all to like a virtual analysis using digital objects, and I think that's going to actually have a couple of advantages over unboxings. One is the fact that I can sort the cards in different ways, and that's going to really help for explaining interactions. And the other thing sort of tied in with that is that some of the synergies work on multiple levels. So or sometimes they do in certain decks, and so it's just easier when you've got stuff that you can sort to flip between different sort views, so you can see the different layers of synergy that might be in effect. So that's basically where I'm going with this, and that's the sort of logic behind doing it this way. So what are we looking at here? Well, we're looking at the Lightforce deck from the M14, the Magic 2014 core set. So it's a green-white, or should I say white-green deck. There's predominantly white in the deck, and the foil card in the deck is Ajani's Chosen. There's a couple of rares in this deck. Now going back to the mana base, so we've got 9 forests and 16 plains. So it is, when we come to look at the cards in the deck, you'll see that it's predominantly a white deck with a smattering of green in here. There's basically, I think, something like 5 green cards, I think it is, but we'll see in a moment when we go through exactly how many there are. Yeah, I think actually there's 6 actually in here. 6 green cards in total. So, like I said, 9 forests, 16 plains. Let's quickly go through, and at the moment we're looking at a curve view. We're looking at a mana curve view. So we're starting off with the 1 drops here and going down to the 5 drops here. So we've got 5 1 drops, of which we have 2 Soul Menders, 2 Brave the Elements, and 1 Elixir of Immortality. Our 8 2 drops are 2 Caption Knights, 1 Divine Favour, 3 Pacifisms, 2 Voracious Worms. We have 9 3 drops, 1 Auramancer, 2 Fortifies, 2 Banisher Priests, 3 Trollhides, 3 Staff of the Sun Magus. Actually, no, sorry, 1 Staff of the Sun Magus. We've got in our 4 drops, we've got 9 of those. 1 Charging Griffin, 3 Pillar-Filled Oxes, 1 Angelic Accord, 1 Congregate, 1 Ajani's Chosen, which, like I say, is our foil, 1 Indestructibility, and 1 Hunt the Weak. And then our 5 drops, of which there are 4, 2 Dawnstrike Paladins, and 2 good old Sierra Angels. So, just going back. So the other thing about this deck is there is a couple of themes here. There's a life gain theme, and there's an aura, enchantment aura theme, and there is a synergy between those 2 themes. Also, being white, there is flying, so that's going to give you evasion. And there are other cards which sort of help with that overall evasive nature of the deck. So just going back to Soul Mender, this is a 1/1 for 1. Now Soul Mender And the other beauty of doing it this way in virtually is we can actually look up for previous versions of the cards. It gives us some idea now, have we seen this card before. So Soul Mender, this is the first time it's appeared in Magic. Anybody that's familiar with the core set will know that nowadays 50% of the core set is previous cards reprinted and 50% is new cards. Way back in the day, it always used to be that core sets only contained reprints, but now it's 50-50 basically between reprints and new cards. So Soul Mender is a new card. It's got life gain attached to it, and the importance of life gain in the deck, apart from obviously just helping you with your life total, is that it will interact with some other cards. For instance, we have Voracious Worm, which is a 2-drop, and there's 2 of those, and if that enters the battlefield and we've gained life that turn, based on the amount of life that we have gained, as being expressed as X, so supposing we gain 2 life, for example, that will put 2 +1/+1 counters on, because in its ability it says that when it enters the battlefield it enters with X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the amount of life we've gained. So if this wasn't to trigger at all, it would still be a respectable, vanilla 2/2 for 1 and a green. But with this extra ability, we're getting something extra. And the trick really is in this deck is that we need to ask ourselves the question is the life gain so watered down that maybe we're not going to be in a position where we can make this happen to trigger this ability. So that's one thing you need to consider. So we could look at the life gain, and what life gain have we got? So we had our Soul Mender, it's going to gain us 1 life. We have Divine Favor, which is a 2-drop. It's got two abilities really here. So you can use it to gain life, but it's an aura. We can attach it to a creature, and it will give that creature +1/+3. As I've said, they're going to interact with Voracious Worm. Anything else with life gain we've got? So let's just flick down here. Staff of the Sun Magus, life gain whenever we cast a white spell or a planes. Angelic Accord doesn't give us life gain, but it gets triggered by life gain. So it's another enchantment which has a synergy with life. And this one, if you actually gain 4 or more life in a turn, and this is in play, then you get to put a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying. And again, as I've said, there is a flying theme in here as well. Congregate, we get to gain 2 life for each creature on the battlefield. So you can see we have a number of life gain sources that will help to trigger cards which are synergistic or like life gain. And as I said, Voracious Worm is one of those, and the other one was the Angelic Accord. I'm just looking at what else we have here. There's a slight counter theme going on. You can see there's a, let me just see if I can find it. Voracious Worm has counters put on it if it's triggered off the life gain. There's a number of just straight pumps here, but we've also got a counter here. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control, then that creature fights target creature you don't control. So there's a possible direction you could go with the deck on here in that direction. And you'll notice that with intro decks, they have a number of little tweaks in them which maybe make you think, okay, I could go off in that direction, but they're not necessarily the main themes in the deck. The other thing with intro decks is quite a lot of what's going on is rather diluted down. You'll see that there's a lot of 1-ofs, 2-ofs. There's not a lot of 4-ofs. So again, it's going to lend itself to be tweaking, or to be able to tweak stuff. In the 1-drop slot, we've also got Brave the Elements, so this allows us early on, if we couldn't really do anything meaningful, it does give us a way of choosing a colour and gain protection for a chosen colour until the end of turn. Now there is one thing you have to remember with this, is you do have to be a bit careful if you're playing against, say, a white or a green deck and you choose the colour you gain protection from. For that turn, any auras that you feel like attaching to creatures that are in the colour you've chosen in Brave of the Elements, you can't attach, because it says creatures basically can't be blocked, targeted, dealt damage or enchanted by anything with that colour. So just something in the background to be aware of. So we've spoken about our elixir of immortality. The other useful thing about doing it virtually is you get to see the rulings on here, and there's all sorts of interesting little things you have to remember. So with elixir of immortality, you get to pay 2 and you gain 5 life. So you've obviously, it costs 1 to put into play, and then when it's in play you can do this. Now it is possible to respond to this life gain and activate something that untaps this. So it is possible to activate the ability multiple times if you have the correct card. Just a note, if you're thinking about modifying the deck and doing anything with tapping, that's one thing. And then once this bit here, if it's not been responded to, the gain of 5 life, you then get to shuffle this and your graveyard into its owner's deck. In this case, this would be you, and that's pretty important. The timing of this, because not only are you getting life gain, but you might want to exploit this graveyard business, and there could be stuff in your graveyard that is going to be useful to hopefully come back and into play from the library. Now obviously if you do the plays earlier in the game, you're less likely to have juicy stuff in your graveyard, so just something to note about. Caspian Knight has first strike. Now Capuchin Knight, sorry. Now Capuchin Knight's interesting because this was originally in a set quite a while ago. It was actually in Urza's Destiny. You can see the old card frame there. Now the other interesting thing about this is that it has these 2 abilities which complement one another. What I mean by that is this, as it is just a 1/1 for 1 and a white, which isn't very good, but just for the vanilla test. So we've got a 2-drop that's only a 1/1, but it does have first strike on it. So that means to say if it goes up against another anything that has a toughness of 1, the first strike is going to hit first before anything else happens, providing the other creature doesn't have first strike. So it's going to kill anything with 1 toughness before that creature gets a chance to kill it. The other thing is with this is this has a pump ability on it. So for 1 colourless and a white, Capuchin Knight gets +1/+0 until end of turn. So what you can do is use it on itself. Obviously it targets itself with this ability, and the first strike would be really useful because you could make this a 2/1 and it's still going to kill a whatever 2 toughness creature regardless of its power, providing it's not first strike. So again, it's interesting to watch out for creatures that have useful combinations of pumping and creatures and abilities that make them put in damage early in some way. Divine Favour we looked at quickly. That's going to give us life gain. We can also enchant a creature, give it +1/+3. Pacifism is going to lock something down. Okay, so we can use that to enchant our opponent's creatures, and it stops them attacking or blocking. Voracious Worm is our synergy with our life gain, so it's a 2/2 for 1 and a green. But what really makes it super good is this ability to put counters on it when there's been life gain that you've gained that turn. Now the other thing to remember is if you are using a divine favour to then trigger your voracious worm, it's just getting the timing right on everything. You know, you've got 1 and a white and then 1 and a green. So that means you need 4 mana free, of which within that mana there's green and white available. 1 green and 1 white available to pull that off. And also you want really to have a creature to enchant, obviously, so for even this to go off. So there's also got to be a creature in play. And so if we're talking about turn 4, when the earliest this sort of combination could go off, what would you? The other thing to ask you is, okay, what creatures could I possibly have in play by turn 4? You know, I might have a Captured Knight in play, a Soulmender, something like an Auramancer, or a Banisher Priest, say. And again, you know, if you're looking to play that have these in play, again, the timing's important. So would you even want to have an Auramancer and play it on turn 3 for 2 and a white if there's no enchantment in your graveyard? So are you going to wait till later to play that when there's something juicy in your graveyard to bring back to your hand? Fortify is interesting because it's got one of these sort of choose abilities, so you can choose to pump your power or pump your toughness by 2, but that affects all creatures you control. So it's just not one creature, it's all creatures you control until end of turn. Banisher Priest, let's see what we've got on this. So it enters the battlefield, and when it does, we get to exile a target creature an opponent controls, and that exile stays in effect until this leaves the battlefield. It's a 2/2 for 3, but like I said, it does have this exile ability on it, hence the slightly more expensive cost. Troll Hide is going to give a creature +2/+2. It's going to stick on that creature, but it also has regenerate for 1 and a green, and that's another 3-drop. Staff of the Sun Mage is interesting because it triggers off of both white spells or a plains. So if you are playing a plains that turn and casting a white spell, it's going to gain you 2 life on that turn, which is going to, you know, help with your voracious worm or count towards your Angelic Accord. Charging Griffin, we've got flying, and when it attacks we get +1/+1 on it till end of turn, so that makes it a 3/3 with flying, so there's no blocking. The opponent doesn't have flyers, that's going to go straight through anyway. Pillarfield Ox is just a 2/4 for 3 and a white. There's 3 of those. Angelic Accord, as I mentioned already. Congregate, another life gain spell for 3 and a white, is going to count towards your Angelic Accord. In fact, it will do more than that, because probably by turn 4, which is when you could play this, there's going to be quite a few creatures in play, so that's going to work for each creature in play. You get 2 life. Jarnish Chosen, I think we've mentioned. So this triggers off enchantments. So if this is in play and any enchantments come into play, you get to put a 2/2 white cat creature. The downside is that this isn't playable until at least turn 4, unless you happen to have some ramping you've added into this deck in a modifier, because it's a green deck. So you're getting a 3/3 on turn 4. Say for instance next turn you cast an enchantment, that's going to put just a 2/2 into play. It does mean, however, the enchantment can be attached, as it says in here, to that token straight away, which would be useful if the particular enchantment was something like Divine Favor or something else that basically pumps that token. Okay, Indestructibility, just a straight enchantment that adds indestructibility. It does what it says, you know, on the card. Hunt the Meek is this counter addition to creatures plus fight. And then the last 2 creatures in the deck, which we've got Dawnstrike Paladin and Seer Angel, are both 5-drops. So the Seer Angel has been around for ages. You know, if we were to look this up here, we would see a lot of sets that this has been in since the early days of Magic. There you go. And it doesn't look particularly powerful. It's by today's standard, what's that, 4/4 5-drop, but it does have flying and it does have vigilance on it, so that isn't going to tap when you attack. And also a Dawnstrike Paladin has vigilance on it, and this is a 2 and a 4 for 5-drop, 3/2 white. Also has lifelink, so it's going to interact with when it does damage. Okay, looking at this, it can do 2 damage, so it's going to gain 2 life, but if you've attached something like a Divine Favor to it, could be doing 3 damage. Maybe you've attached a Troll Hide to it, in which case it's putting in 4 damage. So again, something to think about, how are you going to trigger these other things that maybe you have in your hand and haven't played yet, with a Dawnstrike Paladin in play, that you can get some damage dealt in there. So that's the deck in overview, and also giving you the synergies. Just quickly, let's just have a look at doing some sorts on here so we can get a feel for what we've got. Like I said, color wise, predominantly white 27, 6 green, and the greens were Voracious Worm, Troll Hide, and Hunt the Weak, sorry. Type, you can see here, just give you an idea of what the creature balance is like. So we've got 18 creatures, 17 non-creatures, 5 instants, 1 sorcery, 9 enchantments, and 2 artifacts. So obviously a lot of a large proportion of enchantments out of that 17 is important, because we've got stuff obviously triggering off enchantments. So that's pretty important to do that. And obviously the fact we're pumping a number of creatures which would be rather weak without enchantments. They've all come from, one thing to note with this, they've all come from 2014, despite the fact that I've incorrectly pulled in Divine Favor from Magic 2012. It is actually a 2014 card. Rarity, basically 2 rares, which are Ajani's Chosen and Indestructibility. I don't know what location does. Oh, it's just my deck location. Yeah, so just going back to there. So, and the other, you can do things in product size. You can see that, that's what the mana curve looks like, basically, if you're really keen on doing that. So the other thing to do is think about, what substitutions could you do here. Well, one fairly quick fix, and I think I've shown people this before, especially in a product like this, is it's possible to go in and start doing searches and looking for better cards. I might think, okay, well, we've got a Pillarfield Ox here, is our 4-drop. Is there a better 4-drop in white for 4 mana? Hopefully 3 and a white. That's going to be stronger. That's currently legal in standard. It might be, maybe we're just looking for 2014 cards, but equally we could be looking for something else. So we might want to do a filter on this on our bottom choices screen and say, okay, if I'm looking for a card, and I don't know how easy this is going to be able to do this with the set filter, so I could, let's just have a quick look at 2014 just to show you this, see if it works with 2014. So I'm going to say only search 2014 and show me converted mana cost of 4, and show me creatures in white. See, this could probably end not very well. This may not work. Oh, here we go. So we have Ajani's Chosen. So maybe one angle with this, do we want to lose out on the fact that the Pillarfield Ox, is a 2/4, so it's tougher than our Ajani's Chosen, but we might think, well, Ajani's Chosen has a more interesting ability on it, so maybe we could, increase our Ajani's chosen at the expense of our Pillarfield Ox. Charging Griffin is also already in the deck. So do we want more flyers? Both Boneside Slither, but this would only work well with slivers. Seraph of the Sword, flying. It's a 3/3 for 3 and a white. Prevent all combat damage that will be dealt to Seraph of the Sword. And then we've also got, if we wanted to go with the Defender theme, we've got Wall of Swords, which is a 3/5, but we obviously can't attack with this. Now I've just looked at 2014 for inspiration there, and of course it's return cards that we've got already. But equally I could say, well, okay, maybe I'm designing a standard deck here. So perhaps what I would want to do is go down and go, okay, we're in Return to Ravnica, and this is rather tricky. It's a shame that the order's not better. I'm just trying to remember what everything is. Okay, Dragon's Maze, let's do this. And then Gate Crash. Let's just do the current one. We could go back further because there will be stuff that's still legal in other ones, but we'll just try it with just this, see if we can find out anything interesting that's been printed recently. This is going to show us combination cards as well. So we've got Armory Guard, 2/5. So Invictus Justice, that's white and blue. So I might want to do, for instance, in here where I'm filtering stuff, remember I could actually do the color here. I might go, okay, I'm only interested in mono white there, and maybe I was looking for something that was a bit more powerful, so I could sort that like that. So just again, just some ideas there for ways in which, if you're trying to remain on curve and see if there's another creature, tools like this, and you can also do this on Magic the Gathering Online. You can filter that as well and just get ideas. Now the other thing is, when you buy the deck, it does come with a number of suggested modifications for stuff. So what else have we got here? We've got a 5-drop that they suggest in the deck mod section of the insert, which is Archangel of Thune. So that's lifelink, so that's going to fit in with the life gain synergy there. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. That's going to beef up your counters, put counters on everything. Like I said, there was a very, very small amount of countering going on in here. But again, that lends you think, well, if I've got this going on with counters, do I want to find some way of increasing that counters? Is there a utility card currently legal that lets me do that? Ethereal Armor. This triggers off enchantments. So again, enchantment synergy, you've got enchantments in the deck. Maybe you want to get 1/1 for each enchantment you control, and also give it first strike, and we talked about the advantages of first strike as well. And then Heroes Reunion, which is green-white, so this would be the only multicolour in the deck that we could introduce. The advantage with this is it really is a sort of maximum life here. We've got 7 life for a green and a white here, so but it doesn't do anything else. So a lot of the other cards in the deck were 2-for-1s. They had life gain, but they had something else. They were attached to a creature, or they had a pump spell on them. So there's 3 ideas that they give you for stuff that you can substitute out. So modifying this deck, the 3 things to consider are: is there anything that works with the synergies that I want to play out, which would be better suited in this deck that aren't in there? Are there any cards that are stronger than the cards that I've got there, just based on their, the power, toughness, and any useful abilities, which again might be synergistic? And thirdly, do I need to increase the account of any of these because they're a good card, but they're just too dilute, and that would obviously be at the expense of something else. So there we have it. That's the Lightforce deck from Magic 2014. Hope you enjoyed this format. I suspect this is rather long because of all the different things I've talked about, but what I wanted to do is try and cover all of the different considerations that you might want to look at when you're evaluating a deck. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.